Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony is the third and at time of recording final entry in the mainline Danganronpa franchise, and I don't think there is any doubt in anyone's minds that this is the most divisive entry in the whole series. This game gets shat on a lot, mainly for its ending, and I'm going to briefly touch upon why people don't like the ending, but I'm going to use this video as a way to explain why I actually love the ending and believe it is narratively brilliant, and why the subversion of expectations it presents actually works really well for the series as a whole. Now, if you're someone watching this video who hates the ending and you're wanting a second opinion to see why people like it, I will provide that, and I hope you can leave this video understanding why people like Danganronpa V3's ending, and possibly even appreciate the ending more than you did when you first completed the 6th trial. Anyway, I'm Sam, and we're going to get right into this with this little mini video essay of why Danganronpa V3 is the best game in the entire franchise. Now, before digging deep into Danganronpa V3's ending, I first want to take a look at the opening trial of Danganronpa V3, which is actually one of the fan favourite trials, and I think a lot of people's favourite part of Danganronpa V3. And to be honest, I see why. I would honestly call this trial the second best trial in this game, with Trial 6 obviously being the number one and the best one in the whole franchise. And honestly, I think Trial 1 of Danganronpa V3 is the second best trial in the series, as a whole. Now, why do I think that? Because Danganronpa V3's first trial sets up the themes immediately. We obviously see the subverted expectations immediately, as the main character, Kaede Akamatsu, dies. She dies. The main character, who was promoted in every single artwork as being the main character, apart from I guess the cover art, but even then she still has a very dominant presence, which obviously shows that she is one of the main characters. But that was a lie. You see where I'm going with this? It's a lie. Truth versus lies is one of the core themes in Danganronpa V3, and I'm going to really dig into that and tell you how it ties into the entire game as a whole. Because truth versus lies is the core theme of Danganronpa V3, while hope versus despair is still there, but it kind of takes a backseat to what truth versus lies is in this game. And Trial 1 sets up truth versus lies immediately with Kaede's death. You thought she was going to be the protagonist, you didn't realise that you were playing as the girl who was going to die in the first trial, and then the protagonist's view was going to be shifted over to little detective Shuichi. That is a very good subversion of expectations. It's something that Danganronpa's never done before. They've never done something like that, where the protagonist switches. You have never seen a shifted perspective. You've always been playing as either Makoto, Hajime, or Kamaru. I mean, I wouldn't really consider Ultra Spare Girls in the same breath, but either way, no one expected this. No one expected the protagonist's view to be switched over to Shuichi because Kaede was killed. That is not something that was expected. It's a subversion of expectations and sets up the game as being a game that is going to be very different, one that's going to rip you out and completely just destroy all expectations you had in the best way imaginable. Now, once again, before digging into the ending, I'm going to be taking a look at a character, doing a brief character analysis actually, of this game's, I guess, main antagonist that you would call, I guess if Junko or Tsumugi don't count. The main antagonist of this game, I guess you would say, is Kokichi, who is very important to Danganronpa V3 thematically, symbolically, and overall, and I'm going to briefly analyse him as a person and how he represents the story's themes as a whole. Now, why do I say this? Because Kokichi is a walking lie. His entire personality, idea, and everything about him is a lie. That's the whole point of Kokichi. He is a walking lie. He embodies the theme of lies, which Danganronpa V3 is essentially centralized around. What I'm trying to say is he foreshadows the ending in a way by simply existing. His presence in the story foreshadows the ending because he is a walking lie. He lied about his own death, he lied about being the mastermind, he lied about being truly evil, and he actually lied about enjoying the game. But when you consider all of that, it starts to become a blur, because we don't know what he really lied about and what he didn't. It's confusing. It confuses the audience, it confuses us into not knowing what's actually real and what's not, creating a bit of a blend where we just get confused with ourselves and we don't know what is actually real and what isn't. What did Kokichi lie about, and what was real? Now, there's no doubt it's a little bit more clear with what he lied about versus what Tsumugi lied about in Trial 6, but it is foreshadowing, you know, it is very reflective of how Tsumugi acted in the final trial, where you come out of it still not really knowing if what she said was a truth or a lie, and it all becomes a blur. And his existence foreshadowed this. He embodies the game's core themes and subtly foreshadows the ending in this way, which is why I think he is a great character and the best antagonist in the franchise. He's obviously better than Byakuya as an antagonist. In terms of actual character development, I'm not sure who I would call better. But in terms of antagonist, he's better. He's better than Nagito as an antagonist. Nagito is more entertaining, his presence is more entertaining with what he is and who he does. He has a lot more iconic moments. But Kokichi is better written in what he represents to the story. Nagito embodies hope and despair, but it isn't as deep as Kokichi is when it comes to lies. He embodies the entire theme of lies, which is what the game revolves around. He foreshadows it subtly by simply existing. Now that we've gone over a few sub-points, let me now start talking about the actual main argument here, which is Danganronpa V3's ending as a whole. Now, I said I was going to explain why Danganronpa V3's ending is polarising, and I plan to still do so, but I just want to tell you that I'm going to be going over Danganronpa V3's ending as a whole package, the entirety of Trial 6, and why I believe it is the strongest trial in the franchise, and also thematically excellent in every sense of the word. Now, anyway, why is Danganronpa V3's ending polarising in the first place? Obviously spoilers, I didn't need to tell you that, but spoilers. Because everything is fictional, and naturally people don't like that, and I can understand why, even though I enjoy the ending, and I love it in fact, it's my favourite video game ending of all time, I can see why people don't like it, because I think the main consensus is, of the V3 ending, what's the point in doing anything in the game if all of it isn't real, if nothing even matters, and it's all just fake and lazy and not real. And I can understand that mindset. But on the other side of the argument, I'm going to go against that and go deeper into the ending and what it represents, and explain why actually I really like the ending despite how weird it is. Now, Danganronpa V3's ending is what is described as a meta ending. Now, I haven't done so much research into it, but I'd assume it's endings that do something similar to what V3 does, whether that be becoming self-aware of the fact that nothing's real, or self-aware of something else within the game where the characters become aware of it. Either way, this game has a meta ending, but I'm going to be describing it as an ending which becomes aware of what it is, because that is exactly what happens when you play the game. You sometimes want to look around thinking that these characters know I'm here, because that's what V3's ending is. They all realise that they are inside the world of Danganronpa, as they pronounce it. I still prefer to pronounce it as Danganronpa, but, I digress. Danganronpa, they are aware that they are inside the world of Danganronpa because of Tsumugi, and obviously they uncover the fact that she can only cosplay as fictional characters, to which Shuichi realises that, holy shit, all the Hope's Peak Academy characters are exactly that, characters. They are fictional and they don't exist. And that is the biggest twist in the entire series. Now, why do I like this? Because it is an embodiment of the game's core themes as a whole. Now, ignoring truth and lies for now, because there's obviously a very obvious connection there. Talking about hope and despair. Now, for those of people who hate Danganronpa V3 and prefer the first two games, you might be happy to hear that I have something to say about hope and despair, because they kind of, like I said, took a backseat in Danganronpa V3. Hope and despair have a very core role in V3's ending. I mean, Kibo himself is a fucking hope robot. He's a walking hope. Though I'm not going to talk about him like I did with Kokichi, because I don't think there's nearly as much to talk about with him. Regardless, the ending of Danganronpa V3 is despairing. There's that moment where Shuichi is having his little personal crisis, and Claire de Lune starts playing, and it's like, holy shit, what do they do at this point? They are so deep in despair. It's thematically brilliant in that sense. It even ties into the main theme of the franchise as a whole, not just the individual entry, and that's despair. I know that's like a cheesy thing to say, but that is ultimately what it is. The ending is despairing and people don't like it, which in some ways I find weird, because what more of an ultimate despair could there be than finding out none of you or your friends actually exist? That is the most despairing thing I can think of that this franchise could have possibly done, except for maybe killing them all in the first chapter, but that is not a story. Now anyway, on to truth versus lies, the core theme of Danganronpa V3, and is very important in V3's ending, because they find out that everything was a lie. Everything was a lie, from themselves, they are fictional characters, they don't even exist in the real world, from everything they've ever done, their feelings. Maki finds out her feelings for Kaito were a plotline. She didn't even do that herself, it was written for her. it was fake. Her feelings were fake. Everything the people have ever done were fake. They see the videos of their old selves actually saying things that are very different to their current mindsets, realizing that everything is fake and that there is nothing they can do about it because they are just characters built to kill each other. And then we find out the real villain is us, society, which is another thing. I think a lot of people hate V3's ending because they think that it's a target against the fan. They think it's a dig on the fan base. It's not. I don't know how you read it that well. No, I see how you read it that way, but like, really, it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, on surface level, fair enough, but to come out of V3 and say, I just fucking hate it, it's a dig against myself, it just shows how little of the ending you actually took in from yourself, because that is not what V3's ending is about. It is not saying that the person playing is evil because you want to play this killing game. V3's ending is brilliant in the sense that it is a subversion of expectations, it is the ultimate despair, and it is the truth versus lies. It is embodying the entire game's themes. Now, I want to briefly touch upon the original Danganronpa games, Danganronpa 1 and 2 in particular. I'm not going to touch on Ultra Despair Girls or Danganronpa 3, but 1 and 2, one of the reasons why Kodaka himself said this, he wrote Danganronpa V3, because if he didn't do what he did with V3, then they would never have been able to write something different from 1 and 2. Because Danganronpa 1, as an ending, is very bad in terms of writing. You know, Junko destroying the whole world is the stupidest, most cartoony bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life. Danganronpa 2's ending is that exact same thing with a little bit of extra level of depth, which I enjoyed, but still overall I came out thinking, the writing in this game is stupid, no doubt. But then V3 was different, because you know, whenever I've had occasional arguments with people on places like Twitter and forums where people, you know, go after me for liking V3's ending, and I'm just like, why do you hate it? What did you want? Did you just want Junko to come out and tell you all that you're in despair for 3 hours again? Is that what you wanted? Because that's exactly what Danganronpa 1 and 2 were, but no, instead it wasn't that. It was Tsumugi this time. I know it's not a big argument, coming out and doing something different, telling you that you're all not real, nothing even matters because none of you exist. The outside world, everything you've been told, Hope's Peak, Remnants of Despair, none of it is real. And that is the biggest despair this game has ever shown. It is the embodiment of the game's core themes as a whole, and it is the ultimate subversion of expectations in this meta ending, which is so different to Danganronpa 1 and 2, in a way that was naturally going to be divisive, but in a way that I appreciate deeply. And it hasn't hurt the series as a whole. People still love Danganronpa V3 as a whole. You know, you look at Steam reviews, Metacritic, it's still pretty stable. And obviously, this game blew up the series, more or less. People didn't know about Danganronpa before this in the West. But this game comes along and all of a sudden everyone's talking about Danganronpa when it comes to visual novels, because this game is excellent and it sparked conversation in the community. And that's what I love. People love to debate about this ending because everyone has a different thought on it. My thoughts are not everyone's thoughts, my thoughts are my own subjective opinion. Someone else might say, no, like I say, the ending is bad. Blah blah blah, this reason, that reason, and they might have a good point. You know, someone else could do a video thing like this, where they tell you all the reasons why they hate the game, or the ending. And I would be like, okay, fair enough, if they make good points, that's cool, that's your opinion. But this is mine. And my opinion is that Danganronpa V3 is excellent storytelling and the best game in the Danganronpa franchise as a whole, by a mile, because the way it subverts expectations in such a brilliant way that reflects the entire narrative as a whole. Danganronpa 1 and 2 didn't do that. They had endings which, sure, I guess they reflected the ideas of hope and despair, but it's not deep. There's not enough depth to it. It's just Junko doing her shit, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. But V3 had lots more than that. It had so much foreshadowing, so many good characters that had so much more development, and might I say, V3's cast is the best cast in the series, I would argue. The ending is the best ending in the entire series, and the best ending to any game I have ever played, ever. And that's that. That's that, ultimately. Danganronpa V3, like I said, is my favourite game in the entire series, and that's it. I love V3. It's the best game in the series. Narratively, it's the strongest. Characters, it's the strongest. Music, it's the strongest. And ending, obviously, is the strongest for what it represents as a whole and what it reflects in society. The fact that fiction can have an effect on reality, despite not even existing. And that is the ultimate despair. Anyway, this has been me. I hope you enjoyed this little video essay. I wrote this up pretty quickly. It's not really that professional, but you know, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe down below. And that's gonna be it. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.
I just made a note.